So let me start with this. I'll be using aliases for this story, as my coworkers and I would like to keep our identities hidden. I'll be referred to in this story as L. I'm a 19-year-old male with high-functioning autism. I mention it because I notice I often have a problem actually knowing I'm in danger and reacting as such unless I get hurt. I work as an assistant photographer / cashier at a booth to take Santa photos. It was Black Friday at the mall that I was working at, so there were a lot of people, mostly parents and their kids. Even encountered a Karen at this shift, but that's another story for another time. Later into my shift, 2 hours before we could all clock out, we got a family of around 18 people, all even getting dressed in suits for these photos. So I was sharing some of the anxiety that me and my coworkers felt, as they were probably going to be here for a while. Then suddenly, we hear this massive stampede of footsteps as me, my coworkers, the family, and Santa, and even those waiting in line all turn to look as we first see a panicked crowd of people running towards the exit, presumably. We then hear a booming voice.
"Get down!"
At first, I thought this was an earthquake that hit the mall in a specific spot. Then I thought of the worst possible outcome, even though I and no one else heard gunshots from where we were. I got on the ground with my coworkers, but my coworker Pamela had the idea to hide in the curtained cubby that's right next to the photo printers. Seeing as we're out in the open, we join her as we cram ourselves into the cubby with some of the family joining us. I had to motion Santa to get down through the top opening as he was the most exposed, even though it likely wouldn't have made much of a difference. I used my phone camera as a mirror to make sure Santa was okay, and he was, thankfully. We had to stay there for a bit, and I was just so anxious thinking that the shooter might turn the corner and we'd be sitting ducks, but that didn't happen. Security tells us to get up and to quickly and calmly proceed to the exit. One of my coworkers handed Santa his cane and told me to get out of here, as Santa will be fine. So I ran outside still in my uniform as my coworkers and Santa soon followed. As if it wasn't confirmed by this point, there was an active shooter scenario as I saw SWAT begin to enter the building. We all sat in the parking lot with a lot of others. I had to call my boss to inform her of the situation. I also let Pamela use my phone to call her dad. I wasn't about to deny that, as I was texting my mom the entire time as well. After things died down, I began to walk down the street as my parents were waiting for me, and I just wanted to get home by this point. I'm glad my coworkers were able to punch me out of my shift. Seeing as it was my first 8-hour shift, I really appreciate that. I wrote this about a week after the shooting. Thankfully, they caught the guy. He was a 17-year-old kid. As for the victims, only 3, and thankfully no one was killed. I'm so glad it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. This really reminds me that life is short and can easily be shortened if a maniac is having a bad day and decides I'm their target. Maybe a bit misanthropic of me, but when it's your life, it's really difficult to feel bad for the bastard who could potentially take it, at least in the moment. But anyway, that's my story. Maybe it isn't as scary as some of the others, but knowing you could be moments away from getting shot is scary. Even though I didn't feel as freaked out as I could have been, I think it would have been worse if I heard gunshots. Never thought my first job would have this happen, but we can never predict these things. I'm just glad I got out of this alive and unscathed.